It always struck me as odd why Justin Trudeau would call a snap election. He's been talking about it. The rhetoric has been out there for a long time. It's like, okay, I know for sure that a lot of people are really having a problem with his constant ethics violations, not really optimistic about the future of Canada, so it really didn't sit well with me while he would, or even why he would call an election at any time. And then as soon as this one came out, the timing was so off, because you just took a look at the polls at the time, even a couple of weeks ago, and it's like, I don't know what you're doing here. Is this just try to reset the clock, or is this just some kind of a soft power grab? Do you have different internal polling numbers than what anybody else can see? Because this just seems like dumb timing, but it is Trudeau, so you can kind of forgive him for making dumb decisions. Something, she cover, she session, she aside. I don't care what you want to do. But then you take a look at new polling right now from one of the approved firms of the Trudeau government, and it doesn't look good for him, okay? And we got a whole bunch of other polls, because it's going to be very important when we talk about the PPC and the fact that they are being neglected like a redheaded stepchild. But you take a look at the polls from the ECOS polling, and it looks like we're heading for another just minority malaise government. Kind of a soft NDP-led coalition with the Liberal Party. Like, we're not really going in any conceivable direction. But the way that the Liberals are polling, heading downwards, like, I take or leave the polling numbers themselves. 29% for the Liberal Party, 30%. Like, basically, they're neck and neck, but they're both trending downwards. What's more interesting is down the ballot, because the NDP and the Liberal Party, I've been saying it forever, they're just both cannibalizing their same base. They just might as well fucking unify and make one leftist party and then just fuck off and stop with this whole, we have different ethics. You guys are all just dyed-in-the-wall commies. Like, let's just be fair. Y'all idolize the exact same fucking dictators from around the world, so who gives a shit? And then you got the Green Party, which has been in a constant state of flux for as long as they've been relevant. Like, you just take a look at, what's her name, fucking Elizabeth May, and then handed it off to that enemy Paul, who's just a complete and utter victim case, and they're just plummeting in the polls. I think they have 3 seats in the House. And then you got the Bloc, which used to be like a legitimate opposition party. I forget the name of the crazy Frenchman who ran that, but they would have the overwhelming majority of the Bloc, or of Quebec rather. You might be able to sneak in a couple of conservative ridings, you might be able to sneak in a couple of liberals, but outside of that, the entire province of Quebec was totally Bloc. But then Harper came in, and then he ended up breaking through the Bloc, and then they've just been a disaster ever since. And then you take a look at that nice little purple party on the end there, and they're up 5 fucking points? Where did that come from? That's awesome. I love to see that, okay? I said optimistically a couple of videos ago, like, you would love to see them right now. They aren't going to become the official opposition. They aren't going to sweep the House. They aren't going to take all 338 seats. As much as this boy can dream, it's not going to fucking happen right now. But you'd like to see them in the aggressive single digits, maybe break into like the 10, 12 preteen age right up there when it comes to polling numbers, and then build on that from there. But going up 5 fucking points right now, that should mean something, especially with the debates coming up in a couple of weeks. But yeah, very interesting development when it comes to that, because the debates and the poll numbers that they were going off of, and stupid racist Jagmeet Singh, the guy who is the king of low information voters in Canada, yeah, he had his day with them, and he won't be able to have any of his misconceptions, or rather, like, okay, I don't think that he himself is a low information person. He's just malicious, okay? And we'll get into what he has to say about Maxime Bernier and the fact that Max is not going to have his day against him on a public stage. He's allowed, Jagmeet will take his shots while he can. Don't worry, if the polling numbers continue to look like this, we're heading back to the election. And guess what? If they keep trending in that way, if they keep going up for the People's Party of Canada, yeah, you're going to have elected officials in the House, and you're going to be held responsible to that, you racist sack of shit. Maxime Bernier's People's Party of Canada was not included on the list of participating groups on Saturday. This is from a couple of days ago, rather, as Commissioner David Johnson unveiled a new criteria for the upcoming English and French language federal election debates. Why is that? Because the PPC wasn't polling enough? All other 5 of the 6 parties that are represented here are going to be on that debate stage. Why isn't the PPC going to be up there? They poll better than the Greens and the Bloc, and they're trending in the right direction. Meanwhile, the Bloc and the Greens are heading in the opposite direction. What's the justification for that? In a statement released on Saturday, Johnston, who is, by the way, appointed by Trudeau, so don't think that he doesn't have his hands on this one, said that the Liberals, Conservatives, Green Party, NDP, and Bloc Québécois have been invited to participate in the debates scheduled to go ahead September 8th and 9th. However, the People's Party and the Maverick Party, formerly known as the Wexit Party, they're just so fucking irrelevant, but hey, at least they have campaign signs up now in my neck of the woods. So it's something. I'll have to take a look at them, but we'll see. We'll see. In order to participate, Johnston said, each party either had to be represented in the House of Commons by elected member of Parliament. PPC is a brand new party. They first formed in 2019 and they drew 3-some-odd%. So no, they didn't meet that brand new criteria, which was just dropped. But okay, no questions about that. That's fun. Had to win at least 4% of the national vote during the last federal election. Huh, weird, huh? The PPC was just on the cusp of hitting that 4% mark, which is just arbitrarily selected. It's a brand new qualification in order to be included in the votes. But hey, no, go ahead, yeah, include that one. Nothing sketchy about that. During the last federal election, or garner 4% of the national vote within 5 days of the federal election date is set. Okay, they already meet that. They already meet that in most of your preferred polling. Or they would if you took a look at the viable polling that you're selecting to make your debate selections on. It's so fucking corrupt up here in Canada. It's hard to believe. According to the polls, the People Parties of Canada has only garnered an average of 3.27%, while the Maverick Party has secured 0.7%. Again, they're irrelevant. They're kind of a one-issue party. Again, that's another issue, which I do find fairly sympathetic, because they do just want to take Alberta out of the Canadian Union, and you kind of know my opinion on that one. The commission used 9 polls to determine which parties were eligible to participate, including Abacus, Angus Reid, Ecos, Forum, Innovative, Ipsos, Laguerre, Main Street, and Nanos. Now, we have all of those pulled up right now. Take a wild fucking guess how far 8 of those 9 polls differ. Yeah, you got mainstream. There you got the Conservative Party up by 3. You got Nanos. You got a tie there. But then again, you got the PPC at 5% of the vote. And then you got Nanos having the PPC with 3% of the vote. Or you take a look at the other Nanos research. Okay, you got the People's Party of the PPC. They're polling at 4% with a 3% liberal bias on top. Ecos has the PPC at 6%. Main Street, same thing at 6. You're starting to see a little bit of a pattern there. I'll leave a link to the polls in the description if you want to go ahead and check them further. But it seems to me the PPC meets one of the criteria that's up there. They're just not going to be allowed to be in the vote, or the debate rather. Internal party polling or polls commissioned by a political party were not considered, except for the ones that are funded by the Liberal Party, like Nanos and Ipsos and all those other ones. But hey, no, don't worry about that. They set the rules. PPC said in a release that Bernier was disappointed but not surprised. Exactly. He's the only one with a dissenting opinion on these things. I do not blame the commission, whose criteria were clear and objective. They just happened to be made up almost seemingly to exclude the People's Party. But you know what? Hey, you guys do you. All you're doing is creating a martyr out there. Rather, I blame the political establishment cartel, which refuses to debate the crucial issues we raise and has done everything to marginalize us since the founding of the PPC. Where's the lie? Exactly. The PPC leader vowed that his exclusion from the debates will not stop this wave. He should hold his own campaign rally at the exact time that the debates are going on. Because literally, you're just going to hear the exact same shades of shit from every other fucking party up there. 4 of the 5 that are going to be up there are just all talking the exact same language. There's basically no difference between the Bloc and the Liberals, the NDP, and the Greens, and then you're just going to have Old Bushite talking points coming out of fucking round-headed Aaron O'Toole. The guy is useless. The guy is outdated. And him being on the cusp of potentially being some kind of a prime minister makes me physically ill. Bernier's party received less than 2% of the vote in 2019. No, but okay. This is global news. It really doesn't matter. It's a mainstream outlet in Canada. They're all bought and paid for by the government, so whatever. Asked on Saturday whether Bernier should be allowed to participate in the language debates, NDP leader racist Jagmeet Singh said no. This is why I will not forgive or give this asshole the benefit of the doubt ever again. Listen to what he's allowed to say about Maxime Bernier, one of his political opponents, without any retort because he wants to keep him off the stage. And he openly says that he wants to deplatform him. Here we go. He's someone that has opposed science, and that puts out very dangerous and divisive rhetoric, says the guy who wanted a unanimous vote to call Canada a racist nation, but okay, and is someone that is putting out messages that are discouraging the public health response to the pandemic, anti-science, public health orders, calling out Bernier. Okay, yeah, that all makes sense. God, you're an asshole. It would be wrong to do... Oh, it would be the wrong thing to do. Very much the wrong thing to give him a platform to promote his very divisive and hurtful, frankly, messaging that is counter to science, counter to people's health. The Liberal Party said it respects the independence of the commission. Of course you would. That's what you'd say for a commission that you bought and paid for and staffed yourself with your own appointees. Oh, they're independent. We went and did extensive background checks on how independent they are, and they have enough Thetan levels in their system to approve their independence. In an email statement to the Global News, we believe that those seeking to lead the country should believe in and adhere to strong public... You have to believe, you have to listen and believe to the science. Yeah, strong public health measures to combat COVID-19 pandemic, and not traffic in fear-mongering and conspiracy theories. Again, they just get to slander him. They won't let him speak. They won't let him up on stage, even though those poll numbers are there. They're right there. They fall within your criteria. But no, we won't let the crazy man get up on stage. No, we believe so much in our own position that we can't possibly dignify his existence. And speaking of the crooked media, take a look here. Toronto Star, one of Twitter, one of social media's go-to fact checkers when it comes to Canadian content. What are they allowed to put out on the front page? I'll let Ezra Levant, leader of the Rebel News. Front page of Canada's largest newspaper, the Toronto Star, which receives $110,000 per week for Trudeau's bailout. Same with Global News, same with CTV, same with City TV, same with every other outlet out there. Imagine swapping in another medical condition, AIDS, obesity, a drug addiction, liver disease. By this way, this violates the Star's own definition of hate speech. Again, what's right on the front page? Right dead center. Simmering divide over who isn't vaccinated. If an unvaccinated person catches it from someone who is vaccinated, boo-hoo, too bad. I have no empathy left for the willfully unvaccinated. Let them die. I honestly don't care if they die from COVID. Not even a little bit. Unvaccinated patients do not deserve ICU beds. Front page. Biggest newspaper in Canada. Thursday, August 26th, 2021. These are your fact checkers in Canada. But again, this is why the PPC has my support for right now. Like, they just finally released a little bit of an update to their platform. Their website is still shit, and they still need to work on that. But anyways, I can read this to you guys and just try to put the information across as well. The link for it will be in the description, of course. You know all that jazz. But the COVID policy, a rational approach that respects our rights and freedoms. Remember, this is from the anti-science, anti-government, whatever the fuck kind of party, whatever the fucking liberals and the NDP want to tell you. These are the radicals that are out there. Let's see how radical this is. Issue: the unprecedented government response of COVID-19 pandemic has had massively negative repercussions on Canadians' physical and mental health. No lies detected. Economic well-being, again, as well as their rights and freedoms. Very much so. Standard approach of pandemic management has always been to protect the vulnerable and allow the rest of the healthy population to go about their regular lives while building herd immunity. Sounds pretty basic to me. Lockdowns of entire populations were never part of any pre-COVID pandemic planning. Exactly. Started in China, it disseminated out through the rest of the people in the world. So, exactly. This This experiment was largely ineffective in reducing the spread of the virus, but caused significant collateral damage. The vast majority of COVID victims were elderly patients with comorbidities in nursing homes that governments failed to protect. 60% of deaths in Canada all came from long-term care facilities from nursing homes. No lies detected. Lockdown measures will cause even more deaths in the long term due to stress-related illnesses, depression, postponement of surgeries, drug overdoses, suicides, domestic violence, etc. Documented it fairly extensively on my channel, as well as other platforms out there that are at least willing to talk about the excess mortality that has happened during the lockdowns. Governments don't want to admit the fact that they were wrong in imposing increasingly authoritarian measures on the population. And everybody else who has turned about face, you just take a look at what happened in Texas. Remember, they were locked down, and then they just decided, yeah, guess what? The shit that we were doing before was more detrimental to people than they were actually helping, so we're just going to go ahead and open up. We're going to test things out. Everything's looking good. Great. Basic. The same thing happened with Florida. Same thing happened with Georgia. North Dakota, hey, man, they kept everything open. And so far, so good in Alberta, but again, I won't be banking on anything long term. Both the vaccinated and unvaccinated will suffer under a regime of segregation, constant control, and surveillance. What did the Toronto Star just put out? I have no more sympathy for willfully unvaccinated people. They deserve to die. They deserve to not have ICU beds. Divisive rhetoric, to say the least. Constant control and surveillance. Yeah, it is illusory to believe that the virus can be eradicated. Yeah, exactly. Remember, these are the statements of radicals. We have to learn to live with it without destroying our way of life in the process. Facts. Lockdowns, mask mandates, school closures, and other authoritarian sanitary measures have not had any noticeable effect on the course of the pandemic. They keep trying them, then they take them off. Then they try them again because they didn't think that they locked down hard enough. When's this cycle going to stop? Regions or countries that implemented strict measures have been as impacted as those who did not. Take a look at Sweden. Yeah, exactly. These authoritarian retards want to look at Sweden. Oh, it's a perfect example of how socialism can work. But then at the same time, don't look at Sweden because they allowed people to just live their life and now everybody's dying in the streets. Look at the fucking numbers, stupid. Both the vaccinated and unvaccinated can get infected and transmit the virus. Yeah. Which negates the rationale for segregation and vaccine passports. Yeah, exactly. Unless they want to use that in order to, you know, force vaccines on everybody else. Because, you know, hey, if everybody would have got vaccinated to begin with, there wouldn't be no variants. That's their messaging going into the future. You fucking mark that down. Section 1 of Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedoms used to matter, but throw it away. States that reasonable limits on our rights and freedoms can only be imposed if it has been demonstrated that they are justified in a free and democratic society. Oh, it is by the NDP and the Liberals. How have they come across that designation? I don't need to tell you. Such a demonstration has not been made for COVID restrictions, most of which are arguably unconstitutional. Yeah, exactly. In that second line, before we get into the plan itself, because I think it's a pretty decent plan, both the vaccinated and unvaccinated can get infected and transmit the virus. This comes straight from CNN, okay? And this should serve as a little bit of warning. With more than 100,000 people in hospital with COVID-19 in the United States, this August is worse than last, experts say. Okay, what's the big difference between August 2020 and August 2021? Exactly, and I ain't fucking jonesing to be shooting up with anything else. You know exactly what's fucking different. More than 100,000 people are hospitalized with COVID-19 in the U.S., the first time that a level has been reached since January. As medical workers say they are once again struggling to treat waves of patients. I'm sure they are, doing all their fucking pop-locking. Latest figures amid a summer surge of COVID-19 cases is driven by the highly transmissible Delta variant, whatever, fuck off, is also more than double what it was the same day last year when vaccines were not available as they are now. I think I'm obligated to tell you by some of those fucking alphabet agencies in order to keep this video up. Vaccines are safe and effective. Hospitals and researchers have been saying the vast majority of the year's hospitalized patients are unvaccinated. Really? Huh? How do you know that? And why aren't you telling us exact numbers? Oh, but experts and doctors are saying vast majority are unvaccinated. Availability of vaccines make the current hospitalization surge tragic, but Dr. Paul Offit, a member of the FDA Vaccine Advisory Committee, told CNN Wednesday the numbers now are actually in many ways worse than last August. Last August, we had been a susceptible population. We didn't have a vaccine. Now we have half the country vaccinated, but nonetheless, the numbers are worse. Jeez, you have a smaller population of people that could get the disease, because basically you keep telling us and keep touting the benefits of this vaccine, and then now we're in worse shape than we were last year. Interesting. Very interesting. The Delta variant is one big game changer. No. Let's stop fucking shifting the goalposts here on this conversation. Vaccines work. They are effective and safe. COVID-19 hospitalizations and cases have soared since last June as the Delta variant gained dominance in the United States. The Delta variant that's been around since summer of 2020. Okay. More than 100,317 COVID patients were in hospitals and Wednesday, more than 6 times higher than the figure was roughly 9 weeks ago, according to the United States Department of Health and Human Services. Okay, 100,000 people. 100,000 COVID-19 patients. Okay, they're in hospital. Are they in ICU? What condition are they in? How many of those people are actually vaccinated? How many of those people have severe illnesses? How many of those people have underlying health conditions? Because CNN is also the same place that had that morbidly obese fuck. Oh, I should have got vaccinated and then I wouldn't be in this condition. Everybody should get the poke. Had no underlying health conditions, right? You're just 600 fucking pounds. I only want to tell you half the story. But there, I just gave you the full fucking story. Vaccines are safe and effective. What's the PPCs plan, though? Although most of the measures in the response to the COVID pandemic have been implemented by provincial governments, Ottawa has an important coordinating role to play at the national level and can influence provincial policies. You see the walls closing in everywhere around, at least Alberta and Saskatchewan seems to be holding things off, unless that's changed right now. I haven't checked, but one can hope. Federal public health agencies coordinate with provincial agencies. Ottawa also encouraged and supported lockdown policies through the transfer of tens of billions of dollars in financial aid to provinces and territories. Yes, indeedly doodly. Put everybody more on the government tit and continue to take away their freedoms even more so. People's Party government will promote a rational and scientifically No, you guys aren't the party of science. I learned from a nice beardy man that you guys they hate science. You can't be saying that. Based to the pandemic that focuses on the protection of the most vulnerable. Sounds reasonable. Guarantees the freedoms of Canadians to make decisions based on informed consent and rejects coercion and discrimination. Fired the Chief Public Health Officer of Canada, Teresa. I already want to vote for you like 95 fucking times. Unfortunately, I don't live in California. Instead, the following the recommendations of the World Health Organization. That's something that Tam does, but he wants to put in somebody who will work with provincial agencies to implement a rational approach to the pandemic. That makes sense. That makes more sense. Imagine that, right? Instead of just a blanket policy for the second largest landmass that constitutes a country in the world, instead of just having one blanket policy that you think will work in Toronto, but then is way too restrictive for places like, oh, I don't know, Grand Prairie. Instead of doing that, you just figure out what's best for each city, each region, even if you want to get that fucking lazy about it. Because I'll tell you, even within Alberta, Northern Alberta, a lot less dense than Southern Alberta. Take that however you want. Repeal vaccine mandates and regular testing for federal civil servants and workers in federally regulated industries. Repeal vaccine passports for travelers. Exactly. Oppose vaccine mandates, vaccine passports, and other authoritarian measures imposed by provincial governments, and support individuals and groups that challenge such measures in court. Good. Support emergency provincial measures to protect the most vulnerable, but stop bailing out provinces that impose economically destructive lockdowns. Yes! Support medical research and development of therapies to treat COVID-19 and other viral diseases. That's what you should be doing. That's what you should be doing. But remember, guys, that's the radical plan, okay? That's the anti-science plan. What does it sound like to you? Sounds pretty fucking based if you ask me. Dude, they're trending in the right direction. Okay, those debates on the 8th and 9th, they're going to be total fucking AIDS. I hope somebody who has a big enough platform to amplify the voice of Maxime Bernier snatches him up, gives him a platform, and just totally fucking destroys the ratings that would get for the leaders debate. I don't like any of those people that are going to be up there. I like the People's Party of Canada. I might like the Maverick Party. Who knows? We might get to them in the coming days, but they seem like such a irrelevant party right now. Doesn't mean that they don't have any good ideas out there, but we'll have to see. But as for right now, these guys are heading in the right direction. They got a great COVID policy. Everything else that I'm seeing out of them seems really great. And an opportunity to shit on Jagmeet Singh. Well, I'll never pass that up. Neither will he, because that's what most of his food tastes like anyways. With that said, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.